Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to Healing from the Offense. It's Cia Nash. Happy December. Happy holidays. All right, again, the goal is to end this year and begin a new decade next month with a healed heart. In part one, we talked about signs and indicators of that may reflect that you should seek healing or may need to heal from a prior offense. In part two, we talked about how to actively start your healing journey. In this, we're going to talk about you as a person who wants to support someone. First, I want to commend you if this is you. Sometimes in our culture, it's so easy to just focus on ourselves. However, we really were designed to serve and esteem other people. I am a firm believer that you can support someone in their healing journey, even as you go through your own. Support definitely can be most effective when you handle the person you're supporting through the lens of compassion, mercy, and grace. That will definitely always be the first key. When I say by that is you're extending this space for them to heal in whatever manner they need to heal. Healing is different from everybody because everybody's journey and everybody's backstory is different. So one person's healing journey may look completely different from another. You may be in your own healing journey and it requires you to take certain steps and find that that other person is probably taking the exact opposite. But when you support another person, you're allowing that space for them to navigate their own healing journey, and to narrate their own narrative. This is an opportunity where we find that it's not necessarily what you think is right, but you're supporting them in their journey. With that being said, the healing journey will always involve things that allows that person to heal in a healthy manner, to allow that person to become a better version of themselves. So healing will not mirror anything like addictions, toxic relationships, or codependencies. And so in that instance, you may find that supporting may look like being honest and transparent with them if you see them making decisions. However, at the root of it is you are allowing space that's healthy for them, to grow. When it comes to supporting someone, this is really, really critical. We have the foundation of showing compassion and mercy. We have a parameter. If you think like a perimeter, we think of a gate, right? Um, boundaries is going to be essential. You will never ever hear me say that you need to consider the other person and esteem the other person at the cost of who you are and your narrative. If supporting another person devalues you or changes your narrative about yourself, that is not true support. Boundaries are kind of like roadmaps that will guide both individuals or both parties in how to navigate the healing process by saying this is what's allowed and this is what's not. A boundary, and again, I'm not talking about boundaries as a wall, I'm talking about boundaries as a door, to discuss and discern the proper proximity. Boundaries helps you to establish standards and expectations. When it comes to relationships and interactions, just across the board, expectations are very, very important to discuss so that both parties are under the same agreement and understand, as a support, this is what I can do, this is what unfortunately I'm not able to do. So with boundaries and when supporting someone, that means that there is a certain level of assertiveness that has to happen, as the person who's supporting another. Just because your role is to support, your role is not to save, your role is actually not to heal. We are not in charge of healing another person. Our role is to simply support. And when I say support, y'all, I mean support means to be a presence. Never underestimate the worth of just having yourself, your body present in the moment. I always say, let your presence be a present to them, which I think is so timely given the holidays. Your presence alone can make a difference in a healing journey. Human touch is incredible. We all crave it, we all need it, to a certain degree. And so just by being present, That can look like a hug, or that can be just simply being there and being in the moment with them. Or if you're not available, being on the phone, calling them, and just being listening to them. Speaking of being present, sometimes a person does not need the expert as a support. When I say expert, this is the person who tends to, and I'm guilty of this, I will fully admit I'm definitely guilty of this at times, the person who gives advice. Okay. It's very challenging to separate professional and personal, but I have to. And I have to even hold myself accountable with my friends and loved ones by saying I am not their therapist. So, meaning because I'm not their therapist, I am not obligated to give advice, especially when they have not asked me for advice. So the expert support may not be beneficial in a healing process. It's sometimes beneficial, but allow that person to navigate when to receive information. The only time I will actively object if whatever they're doing is putting them in direct danger. But other than that, I highly encourage you to do more of a listening role versus an expert role. To listen versus give information and give advice. Sometimes the last thing a person wants to hear is, well, this is what you should be doing, and this is what I would do, and this is what needs to be done. Sometimes people are like, I ain't got time for that. I just want you to be here in the moment with me. Another sign, interesting enough, is silence. And I say silence, and I mean it completely different from listening. When I say silence, I say this is to protect you. When another person is in their healing journey, that means that that person may still be at a point where they're viewing the current situation through the lens of a previous offense. It could be that you were the offender, and so they're holding grudges against you. It could be that you had nothing to do with the situation, but again, because they're still dealing with their hurt and their wound, they're projecting it onto this current situation. And congratulations, you just happen to be the person in the center of everything. It is always best to be silent. One thing that I have noted is when a person is set on misunderstanding you because of their own hurt feelings, when they're set on misunderstanding you, nothing you say is going to help you because they're set on misunderstanding you. They're set on being offended. It may not even have anything to do with you. However, because you're there, sometimes what happens is that means that they want to project and release all of their frustration out on you. In these instances, it is just best to be silent because you cannot argue. You cannot accuse someone who's silent because you're giving them no ammunition, you're giving them no support or evidence for them to accuse you of anything. With that being said, you may find to be assertive with them is going to be critical because again, at the end of the day, I will never ask you to subject yourself to any type of abuse as a result of supporting someone else. And so it may look like you have to be silent in that moment, but also say, I'm going to, at this time, give you some space because whatever I say or do may not be readily received by you. And I want to do this so that we maintain the integrity of our relationship. In order for our relationship to continue to be what it is, I'm choosing to not only be silent, but I'm choosing to give you space at this point too. And that's something you may find that may be beneficial. Another thing is going back to compassion and mercy is extending grace and extending kindness and mercy to that person. Healing journeys involve ups and downs, so there's going to be a lot of challenges. And if you are unable to, at this point, understand how challenging the downs really can be in the healing process, you may struggle to understand the amount of work that it requires to really focus on healing. Healing is no joke. Healing is not easy. Healing is not necessarily a walk in the park. Healing is a lot of hard work, a lot of active confrontation with the person's healing journey within themselves. And it's a lot of battling because you are battling outdated narratives, outdated information, and you are pulling up roots. So I don't know if you all are familiar with gardening. Gardening is very strenuous. If you look at a gardener, they tend to be kind of buffed in the arms because they have to do a lot of heave hoeing and they have to do a lot of pulling up. You're pulling up roots. And if the root has been there for a long time, it's very deep in the soil. And so you're having to use a lot of muscle to pull up and uproot things. This is the same when it comes to emotional journey. When you are having to uproot lies and faulty thinking and false narratives about yourself and the roots, it takes a lot. So allowing the space and the respect for the person who is healing, and doing that by understanding that they're actually doing a lot of work, whether you see it or not or understand it or not. Anybody who's going through a journey of healing is doing a lot of work. And so you always want to give them that space that involves respect and understanding and compassion so that they can continue to work. Being said, it is never beneficial to criticize someone or shame someone. Some people, when they are dealing with a past offense or trauma, they're already, hard on themselves. Even used to say, you know what, you don't have to, be hard on me. I'm already hard on myself. And so the last thing people like that need is extra criticism, extra harshness. What you want to do instead is give grace and give compassion and give kindness to that person. Another way you can support that person in their healing journey is actually to lead by example. And especially if you, let's say you have a person who struggles with being a door, either they're like a wall or they're an open door, and you want to like guide them or show them what discernment looks like. You can model behaviors in your life. People actually look to other people more than they realize. And don't be surprised if people are watching you, especially when you're on your healing journey, because people are seeking help and guidance on how to navigate their own healing journey. So a perfect way to support someone is to model the behavior yourself. When you want to model discernment, show them what discernment looks like. You can even use them and say, I'm going to show you what discernment looks like on how we interact. I'm going to be a door to you, and this is how my door opens, for you. Another comment I mentioned back in my previous clip is allowing the circumstance of the person to show if they're being a compass for you. This saying still goes as a support. So let's say you're being a support to someone, and by supporting them, that process of support should be where the compass turns north. Again, if we're using this from the spiritual lens, I personally use north in as in that person, that situations draw me closer to God. Versus south being they're drawing me away, or I'm becoming distant because of the situation or person. Even as a support, you can still apply this. If supporting that person causes you to distance yourself from God, that may not be the capacity where you need to show support to them. Versus if you are showing support to that person and it's calling you to draw closer to God, or draw you closer to being a better version of yourself if you're not spiritual, that is definitely a telltale sign that you are providing the right type of support in the right manner to the right person. Realize at the end of the day, your role may not entail being a support. I always say use discernment. I personally ask God, how do you need me to interact with this person? What do I need to say? And if he's silent, I know I need to be silent too. He always tells me what to say. He always tells me how to interact. I may have to do some digging, and dig deep, but the answer is always there. And so I challenge you to, before you overextend yourself or before you automatically take on the role as a support, make sure, one, that you are capable of being that support to them. Because to be fair for that other person, they may require things from you and you may not be able to give it to them, which is okay. But again, with setting the expectation, both parties are acknowledging and agreeing on the same terms. All right, beautiful people, that wraps up Healing from the Offense. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can check this out on Facebook. I am also on Twitter and Instagram. I will be posting this to my YouTube channel, which is Cia Nash. Definitely check it out, as well as if you want, you have ample opportunity to look at the other series that I've done. But for Healing the Offense, let's move forward, especially into 2020, which is another decade. Let's move into a new decade with a healed heart. Again, you'll see me post on Instagram and social media about hashtag being yourself and hashtag changing the narrative, just because it's time to embrace your authentic self. And most importantly, what narrative are you believing about yourself? And if it's not good, then let's change it, because now's the time. Until next time, I'm so grateful for you all. Happy holidays and God bless.